Come to Remora TC to trade like a shark and not get eaten by one. Let's school together to protect and grow our money. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. It is Wednesday, June 18th. We're going to look at 10 tickers tonight, but I'm going to remove one of them that you've been tracking with me for the past month, 2 months, and I'm going to add a new one. So watch to the end and you'll see where we will go next. Let's look at SPY as the first ticker. We've been talking about SPY and how it's been topping and how the sharks have informed everybody to get out. There's no change in my prediction. It remains further downward prices. You can see in the past few days, the prices have been moving sideways, not a lot of momentum up or down. But you can see also down here in this bearish indication that the sharks will begin their selling. I'm going to move my annotations further to the right just so that we can keep up with how prices are moving sideways. Let's see, I'm going to move this over, But really the direction is unchanged. It's still downward, lower prices. You can see that my annotation here for how much room there is to get to this this top resistance area still remains about 2.6%. So there's always a possibility that that the retail investors will buy price up from a price action standpoint. Again, I feel this is a weak zone for you to take a long because the sharks have already told one another to get out. So no long trade for SPY. If anything, take your profits and further low prices. Okay, you can see that there. Switching to triple Qs, same prediction, just like the SPY, further low prices. You can see this upper resistance zone here, right here. It remains unchanged. I've kept it there for a couple of weeks now. I'm just going to slide this over to the right because prices have been moving sideways. And I'll even move this 200-day prediction out like this, okay? Ultimately, it'll be gap fill this gap, fill this gap. This is not the moment from a risk-reward standpoint to go long on triple Qs. You really want to take your profits and just wait. Wait for price to come down to probably this 485 zone before taking a real assessment on whether to go long. Next up is GDX. It's behaving as I predicted. You can see my annotation here in blue. Further low prices for GDX with resistance up here. The past couple of days have been a bit of selling, nothing really huge on the volume candles down here. I do expect ultimately the prices will keep going down. So if you're long on GDX, the gold miners, take your profits because the sharks have already told one another to get out. Switching to the opposite play that most people think is, hey, a safer haven when gold is going down. Maybe Bitcoin is a safe place to park your money. Well, in fact, Bitcoin is behaving as I predicted. The shark signal came here with the bearishness that you can see in this RSI section right here. You can see since then, for the low prices, the past couple of weeks have been a upward move to retest resistance here, and indeed it continued to be resistance. Prices failed, and this thick trend line that I drew here was to help depict for all of you that it is a place where price needs to hold if it wants to continue to move upward. But in fact, the past couple of days, price failed. You can see the price action failed, and it's just further low prices to come. What I do see happening is they will push price back up. It'll come up, retest it from below. So let me just draw another, they'll do something like this. Retail investors will buy the dip, push prices back up to retest this thicker trend line from underneath. it'll pose resistance here. I'll just kind of, let's see, make a annotation like this. It'll be resistance from underneath, and then for the low prices, okay? Let me just clean this up just real quick. Move this annotation up a little bit there. They'll do something like this. It'll pose resistance on overhead resistance, and prices will continue to go down. All right. So MicroStrategy is behaving like the rest of the tickers that I've shown you tonight. In fact, they're all kind of moving like that, except for one, which I'll show you at the end. Microsoft here, again, hitting a high up here, okay, with continued bearish divergence here. It looks like you might say, hey, this peak and this peak are exactly the same, but in fact they're not. And how prices are down here, I would annotate it like this, okay? So this coincides with the price here, and the direction continues to go down. The momentum for the long trade is long gone. If anything, the sharks are going to resume their selling. You haven't seen it yet, but something will trigger the market to make a big move. Right? So that's Microsoft. If I do anything, I'll just continue to slide these over to the right. Okay. And it's just further low prices. A lot of gap fills along the way. Gap here, gap here. All right. Switch to NVIDIA. NVIDIA moving sideways with a little bit of, higher prices here. At the same time, creating even more bearish divergence down here. The signal by the sharks came on this day back here on the 29th of May. That was their signal to one another to take their profits and go on vacation with their families. So that's what they're going to do. So don't get fooled. Don't go long. This is not an objective long. Time to go long on many of these stocks. My annotations aren't changing. If anything, I'll just kind of slide this over a little bit more, just like that, okay? Further low prices for that semiconductor company. Over to Tesla, Elon's company. I talked about resistance here at the top of the gap fill. Already posed resistance, 1, 2, 3, 4 candles, okay? It's resistance. Now, the lower edge of the gap is resistance today. You see how they closed today's price action pretty much at the bottom of that edge. Anyway, the annotations that I had the other day, I'm just going to slide it down here a little bit. Okay, so for the low prices for Tesla, down to the purple. So right now, Tesla is in this middle zone. This is definitely not a place to go long. If anything, this might be an opportunity underneath this 322 point to go short, and that play would may gain folks 20%, 20% move down. But it's definitely not a time to go long. The sharks have already told one another. Okay. If we were to go long, let's wait until it comes to this purple trend line, and then we'll check the indicators, the RSI, and then make a decision. Switching to Palantir, the last tech stock for tonight, before I talk about a new trade idea. Palantir, even though it got above this purple trend line, it's doing so with a lower momentum. Okay. It's still a lot of bearish momentum, going back quite a while, as you can see here, like crazy while, all the way to November last year. So when I see such a coil up of energy, I also think there's going to be a lot of downside. So at the moment, my first target for Palantir is this gap fill. Okay, so down to this 94 range. So from where we are, where we are thereabouts today, let's see, we're like right there, down to the gap, that's about a 30% move. Gap fill is, 32%. I really think we're going to go down ultimately due to this coil up of bearish divergence down here. I think a bottom trend line that is in play is this one right here. So I'm going to make it darker. Let's make it a triple. I think that's in play. I'm going to extend it. Give me a moment here as I update my annotation. Extend it like that. Okay. So I think that's in play. Now, it's never going to go down immediately over a week or 2 weeks, but over the next couple of months, the overall move will be down to that trend line right here somewhere. So it may end up somewhere out here. And in fact, it may be, where the trend line meets this $80 price point. So it may be out here somewhere. Okay. All right. So that is Palantir. As you can see, all the tickers, all the indications by the sharks have been to the downside. Okay. Take your profits, get out, wait for the long. But now let me show you one for Dick's Sporting Goods. And you might say, what the heck? Why are you looking at a sporting goods company? As I've informed you before, I'm not about the stock. I don't care about the stock. I don't care about if it's tech, if it's real estate, or if it's gold or Bitcoin. What I care about is the setup. And this is a long setup. So I'm going to put my shark down here and explain to you why this is a long setup. Okay. Zooming out, let's look at the weekly real quick. The weekly for Dick's Sporting Goods, I've made the annotations. Check out this purple trend line. Each candle is a week of action. My point for you, the point that I want to highlight, is the behavior of price along this trend line. Okay. Impulsive sell through this trend line. This was the COVID drop. Okay. But you can see that along the way, during the COVID recovery, price used this trend line as support here and here. And then when price came back down on this day, this is what day is this? This is the 22 May. So this is May 22, 2022. Okay. Price came down during the week, hit this trend line as support, and this purple trend line was indeed support. Pushed price back up during that week. And then you can see price came back down on this month time frame, about 5 weeks of price action in October 23. The entire month of October 2023. This purple trend line here, again, proved to be a tremendous support. And now we are at that same point, okay? Now, you might tell me, well, just because price comes to the trend line doesn't mean that we should take a long. And that's exactly what you should be saying, because the folks that you'll be watching on other YouTube channels and even on TV, they're just going to use the basic technical analysis technique of, it's going to bounce off a trend line. But on this channel, you know that I always follow RSI. So let's take a look at RSI at this zone right here. Let's look at on this date. This is March 13th of this year. Okay, price was right here. At the same time, RSI is all the way down here. I'd like for us to focus on this price point here, okay, on this green candle. So this is the 9th of, excuse me, let's look at this one, this red one. April 8th of this year, at this low point here for April 8th, you can see that the RSI is higher, okay? So it's diverging. You have price moving downward, and you have RSI moving upward. So that was the signal. I'm going to move this shark right over to this spot right here. Okay. The edge of the shark is the signal that they just gave one another to go long, to buy back in, to begin taking big positions long. Now, they're doing it in waves. Okay, so you can see only a little bit of volume coming in here. Now you might say, well, what are you doing, John? You're telling us to buy now when the rest of the market is tanking or soon to tank? Well, I'm telling you, the sharks have told one another. So in fact, full disclosure, I am long on this trade. I am in this trade. Okay, so I took a position yesterday, in fact, on this red candle here. Not at the bottom of the close. I didn't get it perfectly. In fact, I got it further up, but it's fine. That's not the point. The point is, based on the the bullish indication here, the growing bullish indication, I took a long. So look, we talked about this point here. When price came back down, this point here, this is another low. See this red doji candle right here? Okay, that's a doji candle almost right here, which coincides with this point here, this little bottom point. This little bottom point is higher than this one and higher than this one. So the annotation goes like this, right? That's diverging price action, bullish for a long. So then you could have said, well, hey, why didn't you take a long over here? Well, because I didn't see it. I didn't see it until it came back. So now the entry is even better. Price has come back and it's playing around this purple trend line. So I took a long, okay? Where's my target? Where's the exit for this trade? Well, from where we are now, the 200 day is right here. Let me just annotate the 200 day. It kind of goes something like that, right? I'm just freehand drawing this. 200 days up there. From where we are here, my anticipation is the gap fill. Okay, top of this gap, the gap in this yellowish box. Gap fill is about a 20% move up, but due to all of this bullish divergence, this coiling of energy, I really think the second move, because it'll be a couple moves. Price never moves straight. It goes up and down to get people anxious to sell their positions or anxious, to take the right entry, like all of that. It's supposed to get you all to sweat and to get out of your positions with poor prices so that other people can make money. The sharks are meant to make money. We're not meant to make money. But if you follow this, follow along, you'll see that price will bounce around. But I think the end goal is this, retest this trend line up here. Okay, so when will it do that? Who knows? But I think the second move, that's another 30% up, right? If you were to draw it from here and go all the way up, so overall 50 or 60%. But price is it's gonna bounce around sideways and whatnot, and maybe even hit it up over here somewhere. Okay, but the point is, this is the one ticker that I found, which I think the entry is favorable for long. Okay, similar to my Nike trade that I've been talking about for about a month ago, and it worked out as per my plan, long. So I hope some of you considered it or at least followed along, or if you did follow and took a trade yourself and made money, then hey, let me know that it was a good trade for you. This is going to be a good trade for me, at least from an analysis standpoint. We'll watch it on the daily, and I'll talk about it twice a week to see how the price action is going. And if the momentum changes, then I might close my position, take a loss if I have to. But this is a favorable risk-reward trade for a long, and thus I took the trade. All right, this is the one long trade for you, for all of you who are itching to take a long trade. Have a think. Remember, I'm just some Joe Schmo who likes to share his opinion about stock moves. But, if you need to talk to a financial advisor, please do, because I'm not one of them. Okay. As always, please like, subscribe, give me a thumbs up, share my channel with other folks, and as always, good luck with your trades.